Hi everybody, it's Shayla here with another creative writing tutorial. So I'm trying something new, doing a more visual representation of the what I'm trying to teach you instead of just sitting in front of my camera and rambling on like I did with my first tutorial. So I hope this one is a better experience for you, and I hope you learned something. I don't know how much I got across in the last one that I did, but I won't get into rambling this time. This tutorial is about creating your characters. So last week, or not last week, last month or so, we talked about getting your plot all ready. And this time we're going to talk about creating the characters for that plot. So, what I typically do when I'm creating characters, and again, I'm not a professional. This is just how I take my steps to writing. So take this with a grain of salt. If this method works for you, great. If not, you can leave me comments to like the way that you prefer to do writing, things like that. I love talking to writers about their methods. Like it's fun for me because it's something that I also love to do. So this is what I usually focus on first when creating a character: name, age, and appearance. So with appearance, I focus on their complexion, eye color, hair color, their race and or ethnicity, body type, and markings. So like tattoos, piercings, any scars or like freckles, like things like that. And so I focus on this to make them appear in my head, basically. So I can get a clearer image of who I'm writing about in my story. So it plays off like a cartoon or a little movie, a little skit in your head as you're writing the story or as I'm writing the story. That's why I like to do this. I like to visualize who I'm writing about, like when I'm writing the story, so I can see what's happening to them in whatever scenario I'm putting them in. I hope that makes sense. So I get this all down before I move on to any other steps. Like this is the most important part to me when first starting creating your characters. And then I move on to background information. So this step you can be as detailed as you want or not want to be. This is just to make the character more real to you so that it's more real to the readers. So if the character comes to life to you, the character is going to be believable to the reader. And a believable character is a character that a reader can, identify with, that a reader will love, will hate, will want to see either succeed or fail and want to go on this journey with. So background information, while not all the information may be apparent or may come through in the story, is important to have just so you know your character, so you can write this character as if they are a real person. So for background information, what I focus on is like their hobbies, who their best friends are, who their enemies are, inspirations, things that inspire them either to do good or to do bad or to not do anything, just things that inspire them. Who their heroes are, whether they're real people in their life or superheroes, characters in books that they've read, things like that, things they like and things they don't like. So just things that they enjoy, whatever age they are in life, things that they either enjoyed as kids or enjoy now as adults. Just basically day-to-day things that we can all relate to because we all have things that we like and we all have things that we don't like. And again, for this, it's even if you're not putting this information in whatever story you're working on, this is just something to do so that your character comes to life for you, so that the character comes to life for the reader. And I feel like for this, that's a very important piece to writing a story, is the characters should come to life for the reader. They should be able to envision this character however they see the character in their heads and feel like they're joining them on this journey, which we'll also talk about descriptive writing in a different video, which also helps with making that happen. But honestly, I do feel like characters are almost more important than the plot. Like, you could have a really good plot, but if your characters are super boring, I honestly won't read a story if the plot, even if the plot is really good, if none of the characters are quote unquote good. Like, if the characters are boring and I just don't care about any of them, I'm probably not going to finish the book just because I have no investment in it. Like, I don't care what happens to them. So you do want to have believable characters and likable characters and characters that you hate. You want to see one succeed and one fail, or vice versa, anything like that. And one thing that I try to avoid is making characters too super detailed in their appearances and stuff, because you want the reader to be able to envision whoever in their head when they're reading. Especially if your story becomes like a movie, and you don't want to discourage people from seeing the movie if the person playing the character doesn't fit what they imagined the person being. I mean, there's always going to be someone that's like, that is not who I think should play it. There's always going to be people like that, but I don't like to go into too much detail about what characters look like unless you have like a specific person that you're like copying a character after. Well, not even copying, but like, you know what I mean? But I like to give detail, but not too much, to let the reader kind of make their own person in their head, basically. I hope that makes sense. I'm worried that I'm rambling again. I'm getting used to doing tutorials, which I've never done before, so I will take constructive criticism. And then this next page is for Frogs, Friends, and Fairies, the short story that I'm using throughout these tutorials as the examples. These are my 3 main characters, and these are the basic descriptions that I used for them. Thaddeus, the main character, 9 years old, just like the other 2. He has brown hair and brown eyes, Caucasian, white, and small frame. So like your typical little 9-year-old thin boy. George, Thaddeus's best friend, also 9, like the rest of them. He's got red hair and green eyes, so he's a little bit bigger, and he's also Caucasian. And then Netta, 9 years old, like I said. She's got really brown curly hair and dark brown eyes. She's also got that small child's frame, and she's black. So those are my 3 characters. I didn't do any like markings on their body or anything. They're just 3 basic 9-year-old kids who are put in this scenario where they have a fairy in a jar that Thaddeus caught. And so I didn't feel like they needed to have too much detail, because the story isn't really about what they look like as much as it's what they do upon getting this fairy. So it focuses more on like morals and sense of justice, I guess is the word I'll use, and like right from wrong and friendships and learning about each other, things like that, and not really focusing on the kids themselves, but all that stuff that factors around it. So that's why they're not as descriptive as they could be. Plus, I want people to envision whoever in their head for these stories, and that's usually my goal. And then I thought it would be nice to get some quotes in here about creating stories. So I've got 2 quotes. First one is by Ernest Hemingway. When writing a novel, a writer should create living people. People, not characters. A character is a caricature. So that goes to what I'm saying about your characters should be like come to life for you, and should be believable to readers. Like, your reader should be able to, like, sympathize with the character, envision themselves not as the character, but like can see themselves going through what the character is going through. Like, the character should be believable in the sense that they're not thinking this is too way out of left field for this. I don't think this could ever happen. Which, if you're writing like a supernatural or like fantasy, obviously there's so much relatable you can be to like a vampire or a werewolf, whatever. But your character should come to life to you so that readers can feel that you put a lot of work and effort into these characters to make these characters real, so that the readers can feel for these characters and want these characters to succeed, to survive, to be the best villain that they want to be. Whatever character you're creating, we want our readers to feel for these characters in whatever way we're trying to get them to feel for these characters, no matter what the feeling is. That is the point that I'm trying to get across. I am glad that I was able to verbalize that. And then my second quote is by Cassandra Clare. Creating characters is like throwing together ingredients for a recipe. I take characteristics I like and dislike in real people I know or know of and use them to embellish and define characters. Again, it's that whole bringing your characters to life thing, which every writer that I have read, every author, I mean, at this point, if I've read them, they're published and they're an author, their characters do come to life for me in a sense that I either really want them to succeed or I want to punch them in the face, give them a hug, bake them some cookies and tell them it's going to be okay. I love stories where I forget I'm reading a story and I feel like I'm best friends with this character, hoping for the best for them, or I hate this character, but I want to see what happens to them, and I hope that they get their just desserts, things like that. And you can use characteristics from people that you know, people that you've heard about, to make these characters. That's what gives characters their life, like their characteristics. And if you know somebody that you think something quirky that they do would be an interesting trait for a character, do it. Do it. Do whatever you can to make these characters come to life so that readers feel whatever it is you want them to feel. It will keep them hooked. It will keep them invested. And it will give them a good story. That is all that I have for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I feel like they're not long, but I hope I get the point across with what I'm trying to teach. Or not even teach, because I'm not a teacher and I'm not a professor. I'm just a girl in her room talking to herself and her dogs, and hopefully people eventually on my YouTube channel. But as I will say in almost every video, I love to write. Writing is basically my bread and butter someday. It is my life. And I do believe that everybody can write and everybody has a story to tell. And not everybody knows how to start writing a story. So I am just hoping that these tutorials that I'm doing will help somebody start. Like, that's what you should think of these tutorials as, your starting points to get into stories. I am by no means a professional, so these, like I said at the beginning, take with a grain of salt, but I hope that these at least help. And my next video is going to be on point of views, the different point of views. And I'm going to stick with the same format that I did for this one because I had a lot of fun putting together the displays, the papers that you'll see. I just had a lot of fun doing it, so I'm going to stick to the same format unless I'm told that it doesn't work. Then I'll switch to something else. But for now, that's what I have for you. I hope that this helped. Please like and subscribe if it did help. Tell your friends who want to write a story or are thinking about writing a story. to check out the tutorials. I am trying to get on a more steady schedule of posting these, but I have scatterbrain right now, so we'll work on that. I hope you guys have the best day or night or evening, mid-morning, whatever time of day, night that you are listening to this, and bye.